Good evening, everyone. Happy Friday, guys. We're back with episode 32. A great number to me. It represented my squadron back in college. Squadron 32, the Roadrunners. So it's a special number to me. And I'm happy to be here with you guys, hanging out for about 20 minutes or so, up to 30, talking about a very important issue today. If you guys don't know me, my name is Caleb Schilke. I'm the founder of Altura, Ascend, formerly known as Daredevil, which I've sold, many other ventures. I've been on social media, and I've been interested in business and doing consulting around it for several years. I appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Thank you for tuning in. And tonight we're talking about something that I guarantee will have an impact on your ability to perform in business and in life. So by paying attention here, by giving me your full undivided attention, we can create a bullet that can pierce through any armor of distraction. I didn't know what the metaphor I was going to use was, so I had to come up with it on the spot. There is a ceiling, not just in my room here, not just in your room, but in society, an invisible ceiling. And that's why it's so hard to recognize. It has an impact on most of our success. And when we try to stop it, it seems further and further away and harder to realize. But it has a massive impact on your anxiety, your stress, your thought processes, your self-image. And it all comes from one thing that everyone here hopefully has, a brain. Our brains are wired for survival. And when we are put in an income-based economy, a capitalist society, it has to reprogram itself and the survivalist traits that you were born with to be living in the woods. Does that make sense? Taking a caveman and putting them into urban culture and telling them that money is now what puts food on the table has an impact on the way we're biologically wired. And although we think most of our flaws can be cured through therapy or through just existing and experiencing life, we're still wired the same way we were 5,000, 10,000 years ago before any of this stuff existed. And so tonight, we're going to focus on the downsides, your flaws, because overcoming those flaws and understanding how your mindset actually plays into your success means that by fixing it, you have a straightforward, clearer path compared to everybody else competing in your age group or at the same time you are in business, wherever that may be. Welcome to episode 32. This is the Ascended Podcast. I'm Caleb Schilke, and this is the Invisible Ceiling. I want to break down the 7-layer code that exists in your brain. This caps 93%. I want you to remember this fact. I'm going to ask you it at the end. 93% of entrepreneurs are capped at the exact same income that you subconsciously believe that you deserve. I'm going to give you a second to sink that in while I make sure my Discord got in here. Okay. You're almost guaranteed, that means, to fall in the income bracket that you subconsciously think you deserve. You may consciously think otherwise, but deep down, your gut knows what you're destined for. And if you're not agreeing with it, and you're not being transparent with yourself about it, or you're ignoring the sense that you could be great, you won't be. Harvard Grant study was a big piece of key research on this topic. It's a bomb that drops a massive fact. Your income varies only about 15% in either direction from your self-image over the course of a decade previous. No matter the market could be the best it's ever been. If you think you're shit, your income's going to be shit. If you think you're great, you will reflect that in your earnings by 10 to 15% of what you think you're worth. Crazy, right? We're not fixing your funnel because your funnel, your business structure, Nova AI, the tools inside of Altura already do that. And I would encourage you guys to check that out for free. We are fixing you tonight because you are the driving captain of the ship. And if you tell the ship to go into the storm, there's no way your business will succeed. You need to be on your feet. You need to be thinking. You need to be acting and executing like a business owner should be, like a movement owner should be. like somebody that is capable of inspiring and leading others to success. That's the only way you will win. The first layer that I want to talk about is the subconscious triad. The first part of this triad is your identity. This is capped with the things you say to yourself. And it's the limit, is the asymptote, or the upper limit of what you approach by how good you say you are. Okay? So let's say I am a 5K a month income person. You will go greater than or less than or equal to 5K a month because you're pushing yourself up to that level. But even if you were capable of 10K a month, or your business could have performed at that level, you're most likely going to stay around the 5K a month range. Why? Because your subconscious is looking for key signatures in your environment that confirm 5K is the target, not 10K. So when there's opportunities that can push you beyond that, it's going to deem that as risky because it's already identified 5K as the safe range to perform in. Does that make sense? So this is identity, and it makes up the first key layer of the subconscious triad. What you tell yourself, what you tell yourself you are, will reflect in your environment, whether or not you actually believe it. The brain will delete $50,000 opportunities if you say you're only worth 5K a month. And so the biggest reason you see 19-year-olds making 200K a month is because they simply told themselves otherwise, even if it seemed unrealistic. The problem is when you guys set your limits too low. The saying really is true that if you aim for the moon, you will at least fall among the stars. You guys aren't aiming for the moon. You're aiming to the next road over. And you're wondering why you're not succeeding in the way you ever dreamed you would. Let's talk about the second level of this subconscious triad. Identity is the biggest factor, though. Number two is the evidence that supports that identity. This is your bias, and it comes from a study by Kahneman, famous psychologist and sociologist. You guys only see proof of your current level, not the level you're going to be at, not the level you were at, where you currently are. It's like saying, pick out anything in my environment that is white, right? You guys are going to look at my chair. I am looking at like my water bottle in the room, things like that. I'm looking at things that are white around me. And so it becomes obvious that I start recognizing these things everywhere. Now, if I said gray or black, you guys would start looking at different things, and the white things would start fading away. Does that make sense? Okay, so your identity is confirmed with what you tell yourself subconsciously or just in your mind. And then the evidence is what confirms or denies that. So if you think you're only going to make 5K a month, the evidence is that you are trying to close 5 deals at $1,000 a month because you think that's realistic. You're not pricing yourself up to $2,500 a month because you think that that's unrealistic for the goal you already set. So it's always better to aim your goals high and fall short of them and still be happy with your success, is what I'm saying. Level 3 of the subconscious triad, steering your ship. And again, this is subconscious. So it's really difficult for you to just go in and change this, although I'm going to show you how to do this. Level 3 is your safety wiring. This comes from Ledoux. And this was a study that showed that, for example, if you have a 30K a month goal, you're going to trigger your amygdala as a threat, right? Because it seems so scary and unrealistic that most of the time, the biggest factor that will lead to your failure in business is going to be you self-sabotaging things and then blaming it on something else. If you don't think I'm telling the truth, just think about it for a second. Think about the most recent side hustle you've started. How many times did you stop or fail or cash in because you didn't see something? Maybe you were spending too much money and you got scared. At the end of the day, most of us would admit that failure is the biggest, or the threat of failure is the biggest fear-driven, purpose that leads us to quit business. It's around this like fear primal response that comes from your caveman ape mind, right? So if you guys see a threat in your immediate environment, most of us are going to flight because we don't know how to fight back. We haven't been given the tools, the resources, the mindset training to know what to do. So fighting in the psychological sense is unrealistic. That makes up the subconscious triad. First, again, to recap, I tell myself I'm worth 5K a month. Then I go and collect evidence to confirm or deny that. Most of the time it's confirming that, right? So if I tell myself I'm going to earn 5K a month, I'm not going to tell myself I earn 10K a month because then the evidence would skew, right? I would stop collecting evidence, which is why you don't necessarily want to set your limits low. You always want to, right, aim for the stars. In this case, being realistic is actually a bad thing, but you're going to collect evidence that says, okay, well, I just have to sell 5 clients at $1,000 a month, and that makes up my $5,000. Okay, and then third, what happens is we are wired subconsciously to protect what we say we are. So hearing 30K a month is going to trigger a fear response in your brain because you are 5K a month, right? So something bigger, scarier, more broader of a goal than that is going to trigger something that doesn't agree with your current agreed upon identity, right? I'm trying not to confuse you guys. I'm just saying that if you say your X and Y comes along, Y might be better than X. But if Y is bigger than X, right, because it seems farther away from your current realistic, right, view of what you are, Y is going to scare you away from even succeeding at X in the first place. So it's better to set your goal for Y and fall short than to not set it at all, or to set it at X and to actually outperform it, right? I know this is backwards to what you hear. It's like set small, achievable goals and build on it. But subconsciously, you actually sabotage yourself more than you win because you're not simply aiming big enough, even though you're much more capable than you think. Okay, so I know that's backwards. I know you've heard so much evidence to contrast that, but I'm giving you the studies and the research, like I said, to tell you guys that 93% of you guys that are watching this, so almost every single person watching this, including you, yes, I'm talking to you, are going to plateau within about 1 standard deviation on the bell curve from your 5 closest friends. That comes from Cialdini, which, I've read his book. He's a famous psychologist, behavioral analyst, sociologist that studies people's activities in the realm of power and influence, right? So how do we interact with each other? How do we assert power over other people? How do we negotiate using the power we have? He was very famous at studying those human-to-human interactions. And he said 93%, so almost everybody here is going to plateau and not exceed where your 5 closest friends are. That is the actual research that confirms the common saying. So take it as real as it is, guys. You need to start surrounding yourself with better people, even if you don't have friends, right? The outcome from this isn't to just abandon your friends. If you abandon all your friends, then you are basically as volatile as it gets because there's no indicator to even ground yourself against. And most of the time, you're going to give up because you're going to scare yourself easily from the thing I said before, the safety wiring, okay? So when you have bad people, it's not about dissing them. It's not about switching up on your day ones and being by yourself. No, it's about finding better people and slowly phasing out the bad ones without, being rude or cutting them off, okay? Layers 4 to 7, because I just gave you the 3 subconscious layers. This makes up the modern traps. Okay, so these are the 4 other points I want you guys to focus on that affect your brain and therefore affect your outcome in life. The first is social proof, and this is kind of your anchoring. So again, kind of like I said before with you're the sum of your 5 closest friends, this is a little bit different. Your network's income is your ceiling, and this is the rule that backs that. Out of those 5 closest friends, most likely, right? The person that earns the most is probably going to define how much you can earn. You will probably not earn more than that person. That's why it's always good to have friends that are outside of your income range. This is absolutely key. Absolutely key. And I promise you, 93% of you guys are going to fall within a standard deviation of that income. Meaning, right, if it's $100,000, most of you are going to fall between $60,000 and maybe $140,000 at the absolute max. Absolute. That's about 1 standard deviation. It's probably a little bit less than that, actually. It's probably about 30,000 in either direction. You're not going to make $300K a year, or you're not going to make $30K a month. You're going to make what your closest top 5 of your friends make, because that's how you're wired. As much as you try to escape it, you are a human being, and you might not like what I'm saying, but you need better friends. Okay? So that's the social proof. Next is the execution task. This is number 5. $2,000 a month, right, leak in most of our businesses happens because we try to spread ourselves too thin, and we try to over expand before we're ready. Does that make sense? All of us are playing this game of Monopoly, of market domination. And most of us, right, we try to win too quickly. We don't have the patience to say, let my strategy play out. Let me actually succeed the way that I initially intended to. So we spend up to $2,000 a month, right? A lot of times it's just a couple $100 trying to start a business, and we call it, a healthy investment in research and development into new tools and softwares to run my company. But at the end of the day, the difference that money you're spending on your business makes is substantially, astronomically, in some cases, low. Because if you just went out and sold, if you wouldn't have spent the money and you instead went out and spent the time or paid yourself that money per hour to go out and hustle, you would have probably made more and you would have had a better ROI, even with all the tools and benefits you could have had from Google Workspace or Notion and all that stuff. It kind of sucks, right? Because I'm telling you basically that somebody in their mom's basement with a computer that doesn't have a website, that's just messaging people and is pure hustle, is going to have a higher ROI than you because A, they're not spending money, so there's no return to even measure. It's indefinite, really. And B, you're actually hurting yourself because you're slowing down the real world progress. And then the second you actually get put into the firefight, you get scared because of that fear factor. That comes from research by Forrester. All right, number 6 is the dopamine debt. This comes from Andrew Huberman. If you've ever heard of Andrew Huberman. This one's hard. And I want you guys to understand I'm not trying to attack you guys with any of these points too. But Andrew Huberman says that learning creates an addiction. When I learn about something, I have a light bulb moment. Nova, right, our AI tool is there to help you figure out what's holding you back. Nova, as a definition, is a star that shines really brightly and then returns to its original brightness. Nova is you guys getting inspired and having that light bulb flashing moment, taking action, and then eventually returning to a new point of equilibrium before you need another light bulb moment, okay? So learning creates an addiction, right, because you feel excited and you want to act on it. But then a lot of times when you act enough, you become withdrawn again because you don't necessarily see the success that you thought you were going to have initially. It's kind of that cycle of growth. And so you return back to the point of complacency and you try to look for a new light bulb moment. Okay. So too many of us chase dopamine when at the end of the day, what really sets you free is just work. It's not changing your plan. You guys basically what I'm saying is, you keep trying to switch up your idea or think there's a new light bulb moment that you have to find in your business when most of the time it's just that you didn't work on it long enough. I know that's hard news to hear. I'm not here to make you, like me. I'm here to give you the honest truth, like a friend, right? That's somebody that actually cares about you. I'm not just trying to butter your biscuit and say, join my community, bro, because I'm showing you how easy it is to make money. I'm giving you guys the honest truth and facts, which I hope you appreciate more. But most of you guys sabotage yourselves because you're chasing the wrong things. You're chasing feeling like I did something today. When most days, most of you guys are going to feel like you don't know what the hell you're doing. You don't even know if what you did today led to something greater. But the news I'll tell you is it's better than having done nothing. Because even if you went in circles, you know that you went in a circle. So you're not going to repeat that action again. Okay? Finally, number 7. The last modern trap I'll say is legacy operating systems. This comes from Clance. 71% inherit parental money scripts. 71% of you inherit parental money scripts, right? That like rich people are, greedy and that, you're kind of meant to stay in your class in that way. You have to save up money. You have to play the game the right way. We get stuck in our mindset and we don't think our mindset can change to begin with. I know that's kind of hard, right? I know a lot of these things don't really go together, but I'm just labeling them as blanket statements. 71% of you. So 3 out of 4. So you actually right now have a 3 out of 4 basically chance of being in that bucket of your parents taught you something and you don't know. That's the only source of information a lot of times when you're younger you have to understand the way the world works. And so you don't have a reason to necessarily reject it because you haven't died yet. Your parents' advice hasn't necessarily gotten you killed, so you're more willing to trust than not. That's why most of you guys, probably the similar percentage, at least 70% of you, I'm sure, have the same political views as your parent, because you just never knew to believe otherwise. You never found the information to contradict them. I don't think I agree with my parents on a lot of stuff politically, just because I've done the research and there's things that I know that they don't and they know that I don't. And that's when we come together in a civil discourse and we figure out who's actually, a more valid point to believe in. You guys don't do your own research. And so you stick to the money beliefs your parents had, which is why wealth tends to be generational. And if you weren't programmed to be rich from day one with the rich habits, rich dad, poor dad, right? Thinking about assets and liabilities instead of saving my pennies to put in a 401k, you're probably otherwise going to just stay where you are. Okay, so that's a bias, again, you'll have. So now we know our flaws, right? We know that subconsciously we have an identity belief about ourselves. We look for evidence in our environment to confirm or deny that, and that's that cycle of growth. And then we're also wired against risk, right? So if we believe we're 5K a month and we see or hear 30K a month, we get scared. And actually isn't inspiring once we've confirmed our identity. It's a little bit scary because we don't know if that's actually us. We've told ourselves that we're at 5K. 30K seems scary because it's like anchoring and pricing, right? We tell ourselves that our value is this. When we hear otherwise, it seems to contradict what we currently believe. And then we have to make an assessment and say, am I right or wrong? And most of the time, we don't want to flip our whole view of the world on its head. So we're just going to say that's not something that I am capable of. Then you have the social proof traps, like I said. So social proof anchoring. So your network income, right? The 5 friends closest to you is the ceiling area of what you'll earn in your life. Execution task, you guys leak all over the place because you're so focused on expanding and trying to do something instead of actually figuring out how your business works and just doing the work instead of investing more. Third, you guys chase dopamine instead of actually learning and following through on the initial plan. And you think you have to keep changing things instead of just sticking to what was already going to work in the first place. And then finally, you guys inherit the mindsets of people that aren't rich, which most of you, for you, that's your parents. And although you love your parents, you care about them, right? Or your friends or whoever raised you, that's not what's going to make you rich because most of them aren't. Your parents aren't probably extraordinarily wealthy. Most of us want to make more money than our parents did. And so when you listen to their beliefs on money, you get affected. Whew. All right. Hopefully we're clear on all that stuff. So now we need to talk about how to fix this. All right. So we have Nova, right, which is our tool that we've been developing, our AI tool, all that stuff. Nova is basically your co-founder and executive assistant in one place. So if you go to alturasociety.com, ALTURA, I think it should be I don't think it's on my stream right now, but you guys sign up for free. You can use the AI tool. We're going to be publishing some updates. We're trying to compete with ChatGPT and Grok, except our AI specifically, while you talk to it, instead of just like giving you advice and researching the internet like Wikipedia, it's going to actually tell you the subconscious things it's picking up about you. Do you tend to use the same I don't know phrases a lot? Maybe you're not sure of yourself. It's going to point that out to you in an honest way where you can actually reflect and learn, right? It's the friend that's not afraid to call you out because it's a coach. It's a mentor. And then on top of that, it shows you what it thinks you're missing. What do you need to do to actually drive your business forward? What are the key steps that you need to step into and fill that will actually create the results you wanted from the beginning when you started this? And it's going to help you actually schedule those into your calendar, which again, you can link your Google Calendar, your Outlook calendar, stuff like that for our paid plan at a way cheaper cost than any other tool on the internet. And it'll actually run your schedule like an executive assistant that most people would pay thousands of dollars a month for a VA. So again, you chat with it for 10 minutes like an AI tool. It identifies your maybe 5 limiting beliefs about yourself, maybe your personality, your Myers-Briggs type. And you could say, it says maybe I say to myself, I'm not a closer, maybe up to 7 times a week, or maybe it interprets that from my language. It then calls out why it thinks I say that or why I'm not believing in that about myself based on what I've said contextually. I can look at that and be like, damn, I guess I am saying these things over and over. And I'm confirming that I don't think I have the ability to sell something, right, in a sales call. How do I get over that? Okay, what are these things I need to practice to get better and to actually achieve that? Then it gives you the action steps, maybe things you can do to work on it, maybe just things that you need to do to produce more results in general, like send 20 direct messages today to people that might be interested. And then it gives you a slot in your calendar that you can actually book that into. And it runs your schedule for you, and it uses AI to optimize it. So when you accomplish things, it'll just adjust and move everything around accordingly. Again, then it can step into multiple different hats, kind of like a therapy style role, which can unpack your personality and things about yourself. Mentor type of mode, where you can talk about your business strategy and on the maybe 5-year plan down to the 5-day plan, what it thinks you need to get done. There's the assistant side of it, which runs your schedule and executes. And then there's kind of that friend or general assistant vibe like ChatGPT, which is why we stand apart, because we're not just that. We do all these other functions too. So then again, what I want you to do, and again, I don't want to just tell you these facts. I want you guys to act on them. So I'm going to give you this action plan right now, just as I would on a coaching call, which I actually have a coaching call right after this in about 15 minutes. I got to get to. So day 1 or day 0, maybe today, let's call this the belief audit. I want you to go back and over the 7 things I said, right? The subconscious things, right? About your identity, your limiting beliefs, the evidence around you that confirms or denies that. And then maybe kind of the scary facts of what you're not willing to accept about yourself yet. And then all the things in your environment, right? Like your friend group, things like this. Audit yourself. And the best way to do that is to talk to Nova. Sign up on alturasociety.com, have that honest conversation, and let it pick out the things it sees about you. Be willing to take feedback, because that's half of coaching. When I sign with a client, I look for 2 things. 1, are they coachable? Are they somebody that I can actually give advice to and they will listen and act on it? And 2, do they have a need that I can even fill? Can I give them advice on something that is actually relevant to where they're at? And can I actually help them? You need both of those things to coach. And the AI is kind of constantly looking for that. You could ask it what the weather today is, and it's going to be able to determine by the way you speak to it, are you a confident person, right? Based on the text I'm using and things like that. So just using it for your everyday stuff, just like ChatGPT or Grok, and not selling your data to these massive corporations is going to start unlocking insights. And again, it's free, and you're able to upgrade to get similar functionality and web research and all this stuff for a paid plan that's competitive with everybody else. So then after you do this audit, whether or not you're using AI or you're just doing it by yourself, and you can maybe list on paper about 10 of those limiting beliefs, I want you to go and create an offer around that. Based on what I have in limiting beliefs, based on the things I need to work on for myself, or maybe what I'm good at, what business could I start? And if I have a business already, what should I do for an offer that's relevant to this? Okay, so let's say I'm an introvert. Let's say I have a hard time communicating with people. I can't express myself very well. I like to kind of just sit in the corner, right? I just like to work. I'm not really a big social butterfly. Okay, well, I'm not going to be focused on sales calls. I'm going to be focused on closing deals in the DMs, right? So that's going to affect the way I go out and make money, even if I have the business. If I don't have a business, I'm going to start asking myself, okay, should I be a coach then? Should I coach people one-to-one on video Zoom calls if I'm an introvert? No. Okay, so maybe I should sell a course or be a digital product creator or do photography or do, content creation or do AI video editing, stuff like that. Just adapt what you have based on your limiting beliefs. Because again, it makes way more sense to instead pick an industry that fits who you are as a person, rather than like a relationship, guys, trying to box yourself in to something that somebody else wants of you or an industry wants of you. If you're a social person, right, you're not going to sit there and do day trading all day, because you need to talk to people. That's who you are as a person. So you're better off doing consulting or coaching. So don't put yourself into a place where you're setting yourself up for failure. And to do that, you need to understand who you even are to begin with. That is why you're not winning in your business. It's kind of just common sense if you think about it. And then after that, right? So after you've sat down and figured out all your beliefs and your limitations, you've picked what you're offering and what you're going to do with a business, then you guys need to get your first sale, or you need to get the next sale. And you need to, what that is doing is taking that belief, right? The limiting belief, and challenging it. And then not only that, but redefining it to what you say you are now. I am a 10K a month coach because I just got a deal closed at $1,000 a month, which is putting me on track to do that with 10 clients. Okay. So then when you need the action plan to take you from the idea and the offer you're selling to something that's actually going to produce money through a formula of repeated effort. And again, right, be conscious of trap number, what was it? Trap number 6, The Dopamine Debt by Andrew Huberman. You guys don't want to keep changing your idea. It's not that your offer's bad. It's just that it's not clear or you haven't executed it on it enough. So you either need to see if people even understand what your offer is or just go out and do more reps. Because it's not that your offer is going to, if it's good, right, if it's genuinely good, it's more that you need to get yourself comfortable with selling it. Kind of like if you went to door-to-door sales. If you're selling, solar panels, you have to figure out the best ways to overcome people's objections. You have to give it time to actually work its course. And the more you change it, the more you're giving into that bias we just identified. Nova is going to give you the actionable steps that you can put into your calendar. So whether or not you're free or you're working, 9 to 5, when you get home at 6 p.m. and you're ready to go, it can line up that task for 30 minutes for you to take action and to execute on your business. Those are all things that, if you're a subscriber inside of Altura for $20 a month, $20 is going to guarantee you have the cheat code to get from start to finish on this stuff. Okay. Or you can just use it as a trial for free. So I was going to go through and ask Nova and go through this process live about how do you take an idea and go through all the steps of doing that. I'm encouraging you guys to just check it out on the website because I have a coaching call right after this and we're working through somebody's strategy. I'll probably try to do that with a client or get a case study if I think that, they're willing to put themselves out there and do that. But you can see, guys, that I obviously work with people in the real world. So it's not just these hypothetical made-up formulas that are getting plugged into Nova. It's real mentor coaching procedures that human beings use to help each other succeed. So the AI is trained on this, and it knows what questions to ask of you and what insights to pull out from the things you're saying because it's trained on my brain, among other people's, right, and research. So 1, go to alturasociety.com. 2, click start free or just sign up for free. Put in any email, put in a password. 3rd, using Nova AI or using a piece of paper for 20 minutes, set a timer. I know it's going to be hard to dial in. I know your dopamine-infused brain is going to have a hard time focusing. Write down your limiting beliefs and maybe what you're good at, what things you do truly believe about yourself and your progress. Then plug them back into Nova AI or just using the same piece of paper, flip it over and say, okay, based on these things, what businesses would I be able to start? Or if I have a business, what type of offer could I put out? Or how could I repackage my current offer to fit who I am? Once you've done that, you need action steps to take that offer and to put it in front of people and get their credit cards out to pay you. That is the hard part because that takes time. And the way to expedite that time is to either become a better salesperson, give people more of a reason to buy, or just have a clearer formula that will execute more clearly. And a lot of times Nova will solve all of those things for you. And then finally, upgrade, guys. You're really not going to get too much unless you actually pay for $20 a month to be in Altura, because then you're going to be in a community with private channels with other people in our live chat that are doing the same thing you're doing. They're building their companies. They're starting ventures. They're trying to work on themselves, through their personality as well as their limitations. You can actually connect with people on a deeper level because not only are you talking about what you're doing, but you can be honest and talk about where you're failing. And people can give you advice where they won't on LinkedIn because everyone has to put up this fake front and masks to be able to connect with each other. That's why I hate LinkedIn and why we're building our own networking platform. If you guys like that, if you think that would help you in life, I'm inviting you to the platform for free, ALTURA society.com. I would love to see you guys inside. And remember, your ceiling, your limitations, right? Your 5 closest friends, well, most of you, if you don't change anything, are going to be approaching the ceiling of that 5th friend. It's not real. It's code. And it's a program that you get to change. It's a variable. Although you're going to reach the highest income of between your 5 closest friends, you can change your 5 closest friends. Okay. So start networking with people inside of Altura that are making more money than your 5 closest friends, that are actually building companies, that are giving into self-development practices and making themselves higher efficiency people. It's not just income. You're going to approach the highest maturity of your 5 closest friends. You're going to reach the highest level of performance, energy, right? Ambition as your 5 closest friends. So surround yourself with people that max out their stats on the game board, okay? Your ceiling isn't real. It's just code. Nova, Altura, what we're doing inside for $20 a month is going to rewrite the code entirely and give you guys the answers that are going to naturally increase your character's attributes in this video game we call life. And then master your mindset tonight. Do the action steps I said. It's going to take probably 20 to 30 minutes, but if you actually care about making it, I just gave you the formula. I'm not asking you to pay anything tonight. I'm just saying write down those things on a piece of paper, see if it helps you, which I guarantee it will help me, and I've done this. And then join for free. Chat inside the free channels, and I will personally help you guys out. If you guys like this podcast, if you like the messaging tonight, obviously drop something, a like, a follow, a comment, just to let me know. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. And then Monday for me and Anthony getting onto the episode 33. Tomorrow's just going to be more of a casual Q&A. But we're building Altura every single day. We have the lifetime memberships available for you guys to purchase. We're dropping a cryptocurrency. It's going to be crazy in terms of how much utility it has. And more details will come very soon on that. This is going to change the entire scope of how our world operates, how people our age think about entrepreneurship and success as a whole. This is like investing in Bitcoin in 2009, right? This is seeing Apple before it ever became the iPhone. I'm giving you guys the chance to join an entrepreneur network, the new 1% in our generation, before it ever becomes as big as it will be. And if you see that vision, if you see how ambitious we are, what we're trying to accomplish, if you take 5 minutes and check out the website, you will want to be part of this. I'm Caleb Schilke. This is episode 32. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you inside. And as always, I'm rooting for you. Have a good night.